from. Size, shape, or color makes no difference.
Hello, I'm Anti-Derivative Jill, and this is Indefinite Lunch and Infinite Combinations number 92. And I'm continuing my very special journey through all of Star Trek, the original series episodes. And today we have a great panel with us. We've got Scotty R37. He's here. Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
I'll let you know in a bit.
Okay. Also here is Commodore Boone.
Doing good.
Yeah, how are you doing? Good? Great. And Stone Racket. Stone Racket's really great. How's Stone Racket?
I'm doing good and ready to rip this episode a new one.
Yeah.
Oh, hooray. Well, at least you feel something about it. So Tiger Stripes is also here today. She wanted to talk about this one. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Wonderful. And so normally I do start with a quote from the episode, but I also like what...
It.
Yeah, I did. But also there's something that Uhura said when she was arguing with the network executives who were trying to say, maybe we shouldn't do this. She said, interracial kiss? Interracial kiss. So what? We're supposed to be in the 23rd century here, and this is Uhura, and we don't have racism where we are.
That's right.
That's right.
Oh, that's a good one. The Savage
It's
Curtain.
a great reply.
Yes, we will get to that. And so we're watching in production order, and we're on Plato's Stepchildren. It's the 12th episode of season 3. It's the first one aired. It first aired on November 22nd, 1968. It's always difficult for me to see my crew tortured, and this one is very much that kind of horrific story.
There's some good screaming.
There is.
Good screaming.
Yeah, the shot really lets loose.
Oh, dude. The acting in this is so like they don't want to do anything that they're doing throughout the episode because it's torture, and you can see it not only in the characters but also the people being paid to perform it.
Right, it's very painful all around, and so they're being forced to do it. But that's what actors are made to do, is being forced to do it. But they know that they're outside of they're supposed to be out of character, and because they're being forced to do things they'd never really do. That's true. So reference to the production of these episodes will include the Star Trek 365 book by Paula M. Block, which I learned about from Raquel Briggs. She reviews all of real Star Trek from 66 to 05 on the Clyburn Times channel on Saturday nights at 9 p.m. If you want to watch that, it's really great. We're on Voyager Season 4. Then I also make some references to These Are the Voyages by Mark Cushman, because he has some great material in there. And even though my slides go in order, I don't mind if you want to talk about different parts of the episode at any time to help with that. Here's the preview for Plato's Stepchildren, and then I will say hello to the chat. Plato's Stepchildren, so responding to a distress call from Platonius.
It's actually an unknown planet.
It is.
Responding to an unknown planet.
With no life forms.
Well, for good reason. They want it to be a secret. Kirk, Spock, and McCoy beam down to find Parman, the planet's ruler, on the verge of death from an infected leg. The Platonians, the landing party learns, have powerful telekinetic abilities, but they have no resistance to infection. When McCoy cures Parman, the grateful leader attempts to convince him to stay on his world. McCoy politely refuses the invitation, but the Platonians won't take no for an answer. Using their powerful minds, they put Kirk and Spock through an escalating series of bizarre and humiliating performances in an attempt to pressure McCoy to change his mind. And so that's the it's a pretty good description. It's a lot quicker than the episode took to tell me that same thing. So thanks everyone for being here today. Y'all mean so much to me, and there's so much activity in the chat. I've got to say hello to everybody who's here. So let's start at the top and say hello to Franco Walker and Jim's Landscape. You're here on the panel too, Commodore Productions.
It's no longer morning where I live.
Gotti,
Arliss Lovelace
R37.
and Babs
Well,
Babcock. Now, so Michael Dunn plays Alexander in this episode.
does.
And I just learned that. I had to write it down. But I always, whenever I see him, I thought he was the bad guy in the original black and white Wild Wild West. I thought he was Arliss Lovelace.
No,
He
it's
has his name wrong.
Dr. Miguelito Lovelace.
Oh, then it was my mistake. Then
And
I was wrong.
Miguelito is basically Little Michael. So I think the character was named for him.
Oh, then heavens.
but you got the TV show correct.
Yeah, that's only like, that doesn't count. I still got I failed.
Well, I fell even more because I just know about him from this. Hello to Snortopoopas Cuber and Edge of Time. Are you
Edge of
from
Time,
the
Poopus.
spaceship Enterprise?
It's a starship, yo.
Stone Rocket says the great Michael Dunn, the lovely Barbara Babcock, and the ever so lovely Nichelle Nichols all helped to elevate this rather embarrassing episode. So I give it a C grade. Yeah. I feel the same exact way, Stone Rocket. That's incredible. Snorpoopus says we have aliens imitating ancient Greek culture using French phrases like pièce de résistance and forcing a Vulcan to perform a late 18th century Spanish flamenco. This is why I love this episode.
Yes, the anachronisms abound.
It is all over the place, for sure.
They also force them to quote Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland, Shakespeare.
And how could they know about those things if they had left Earth at the time of Plato?
Meyer Delinsky knew all about it, the teleplay writer.
And
so
that's
therefore,
right. It doesn't make sense.
So therefore, his aliens know all about it. It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Unless
Pop culture
they
curator
have been paying attention to the Earth since then, which seems not like them.
Not likely at all.
How does that information transmit though? When I don't know. Hello to a pop culture curator. I'm so sorry you can't be here on the panel today. He's
Ahoy,
busy
sir.
at the doctor's office.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm glad to see you.
This is a great one to call in sick for. Do whatever you're doing, bud. You're having a better time than us.
Hail and blessings. Oh, but that's good. I'm glad there's a range of opinion. That makes for a good panel. Only got to see this episode in the early thousands. It was on the BBC's banned list along with Whom Got Destroyed, Dagger the Mind. Not just that one, but also the Empath.
Oh man, I missed the Empath.
Because of sadism.
Yeah, because of sadism, showing mental institution.
And the mental institution in Dagger of the Mind. And Whom Gods Destroy as well.
Hey, Gorilla with the Kapla. Well, off to work. Finally got your car back. Happy that you're mobile, sir.
Kapla Gorilla. They said they didn't like violent content, but I suspect it was really bad because Shatner was wearing a short skirt.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Kapla, Bird of Prey.
There he is. Bird of Prey. Kapla.
Franco Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. A B-. Brogu. Hello, Brogu. And Christine Hurt. Very cool to see you.
Christine.
Franco Walker also says, please subscribe, share, and hit the like and select live chat.
True.
Hey, Christine.
Mm-hmm. And
Christine.
hello to
Christine.
Mr.
Brown.
Hi. I try not to get excited when I see him, but it happens.
No, I get excited too. It's fun.
I was doing Roger Corby there with the Christine.
Oh, it's me, Christine. It's me.
Bird of Prey 5 says, it's great as this episode is, it always rubbed me the wrong way. I just could not get used to the short person. I can only imagine the cabbage.
That's awesome. It's an Austin Powers reference, but I got to say, Michael Dunn is like the highlight of this, and Barbara Babcock.
Yeah, right.
And Nichelle Nichols.
Michael Dunn was both a Tony and an Oscar nominee.
Oh, wow.
In his life. by the time this episode was made.
Renowned thespian.
And Snarpoopa says Miri was also banned. So
didn't know that one.
Wow.
Yeah, in the UK.
Yeah, I saw that list, and they also said it had something to do with the UK considering Star Trek children's programming, which is very bizarre.
Had they ever seen Lost in Space?
Yeah, they got it mixed up with Lost in Space. They're like, oh, they have, phasers, they have lasers.
Spaceships.
This looks similar to that. This must be for kids.
We're simple people who are wallowing in our Doctor Who's.
Who?
Yes.
Who?
So Plato's Stepchildren, like I said, first aired on November 22nd, 1968. It was written by Meyer Dolinsky, who had also written for other sci-fi shows like Science Fiction Theater, The Outer Limits, and The Invaders. And then it was directed by David Alexander, who had worked for Roddenberry, and he did a couple episodes of Lieutenant. He also worked for Arthur Singer for Decoy, for a cop show, but he was best known for Petticoat Junction, F Troop, and the pilot for The Munsters. What made him a good fit for Plato's Stepchildren were his 10 directing assignments for My Favorite Martian.
Wow.
Yeah. So, oh wait, I have slides.
So, this episode of Star Trek is a treasure trove of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon.
For sure, yeah.
You can get to so many people through Bill Bixby.
And a good shout out the Enterprise there.
It is. I did watch with the new special effects, and so obviously it's mostly exteriors of the ship, but there is a nice change on the tricorder POV shot later on in the episode. So aside from that, it doesn't really change much.
So what's the deal with season 3 with the tricorders and the sensors always saying, oh, there's no life here, but there's always life there?
I don't know. Well, and don't forget, we got the Keroside. This is apparently a very powerful mineral.
Yes, that'll be important later.
It will be, but the thing is it's weird. Why don't they pick up any life signs, and why do they note Keroside, an element that we have never heard before and will never speak of again?
Because they're going to tie it all together at the end.
I'm hoping
to resolve the crisis.
But why also compound it and say it's good for power? Well, it's good for more than just ship power, but also mental power.
Yeah,
but
like, what do you do with it?
They're answering a distress call for a minor injury that is killing the leader, Parman. He's dying because he's got an infection.
Yeah.
Well, it could have ended there. It didn't. Liam Sullivan plays Parman, and he was 45, and he was on...
for 1960s 45, he looks pretty good.
Yeah, that guy's in shape.
Yeah.
He can wear a toga.
He was on the Twilight Zone and the Monroes.
The Monroes?
A guest spot in Lost in Space and Bonanza.
I can't see him in Bonanza, but I can believe he was in Lost in Space. Anyway, he's writhing, which is just fantastic. Take it in, kids. Oh, right. This is where we discover that that they have the telekinetic powers because, well, we've already taken over Alexander, but now he's pulling the hypo out of the med kit on his own volition.
We've skated right past it, but I'm just going to put in that I really loved that after the captain's log, Michael Dunn had the first line of the show.
Oh.
And where would you like
Very
me
cool.
to pick that doctor?
Well, he's immediately on the cruise side, so it's easy to like him right away.
Falana. Barbara Babcock plays Falana. Falana?
Yeah,
Falana. Yeah. I kind of want that screenshot. Just with the title.
Which one? Oh, the title?
One,
okay.
That's it.
Gotcha.
Plato's Stepchildren with Parman writhing and Babs looking on. That's actually really good, too. Like, I do.
This is...
Like, please.
This is Alexander Courage's last score for Star Trek, and it's the last episode to have an original score.
Oh.
Wow.
I still hate it.
Okay. You don't have to like it.
I appreciate the effort put into it. It's great but even when I was listening to the score of this episode, I was like everything that I'm seeing visually is making me uncomfortable and off-put. And everything that I'm hearing is doing the same thing. Oh, it just breaks my brain. I hate this so much.
Brain and brain. What is brain?
I don't know. I forgot.
I had to say that.
For sure. I would much rather be watching Spock's brain. When people say that Spock's brain.
What is brain?
Bingo, bango.
Bingo, bango.
And Jill.
Hey, Captain Fandom Nerd is here. Yes.
Ahoy.
Ahoy, Captain.
Okay, I have to step away for just a second.
Oh, I will do my best to find out where we left off, and I will continue on in the chat until Jill's eventual return. Scrolling. There we are.
Well, and also,
anyway.
Jill's kind of skipping over this, but I wanted to point out, I really liked the way the music kind of followed the action. The first sight you see of Alexander is this massive shadow, and then there's a big fanfare. The Alexander Courage fanfare, and then as the shadow dwindles, so does the music. And the music just kind of comes down to sort of mimic the action. It was very, kind of classic Star Trek, very nicely done. And at a minute 16, Dunn uses the title of the episode so everybody can take a drink.
Yes.
Because that's the rule.
I'm always looking for a reason. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, that's the name of the thing. So
exactly. Roll credits. No, but it is. I don't want to undermine not only the cultural impact of the episode, but also the performances. I think everybody is firing on all cylinders. I just don't. It's like a song that everyone loves, and I don't like it. It's I feel bad.
Don't feel bad. I do not like this episode either.
But you appreciate it aesthetically.
Snorty says Plato's Republic was based to an extent on Sparta, which Plato felt was an ideal society. Plato was not bright in some ways. I know almost nothing about philosophy. I did look at Plato just because of the title, although I understand the title was I think it was Sons of Socrates, and definitely Plato's Stepchildren is a much better title. Mm-hmm. And the thing about Plato was that all of his discourses were written as the words of Socrates, which is a really odd premise.
It's pronounced Socrates.
And so, well, you can say that, but I'm not going there.
Okay, do
and
that.
So, everything that he wrote, he wrote it as if it was coming from Socrates, who I suppose was a student of, and I think really loved. So, that's a really weird premise for philosophy.
Oh, right. This one used to be called Sons of Socrates, so that must be related to what you're
Was that the original title of the episode?
Yes.
Yes,
nice.
That was the author's title.
Sort of Poopus says, "Oh no, I just for this reason. Please read. Be right back."
Poopus says Starfleet tricorders come with a plot device generator, which blocks lifeform readings to this landing parties can be surprised by the non-existent lifeforms. Why
I don't think so.
And also it's not tricorders.
It was ship
sensors.
Then?
It was ship sensors. I believe that
No, not you. Whoever said I don't think so.
Oh, yes.
I don't think so, because tricorders are designed to pick up life signs, but if there's a life sign that is hidden, it's not going to pick it up. It's not the tricorder's fault.
Maybe
one of the interesting things about this too is that even though this society is, because of their psychokinetic power, technologically advanced, they're really not that bright. They haven't spent all of these thousands of years learning how to do things.
You know what? That's absolutely right. This is one of the cases where we have a stunted civilization because of what's been giving them the ability to ignore having to actually live.
Right. Even though they're kind of at a level above the Enterprise's technology. Just because they have psychokinetic power.
They have a scroll that has ancient remedies from Hippocrates himself. And they don't have a qualified doctor. So they are dumb as a post, I think, because they have medicine at their ability. Yet they're able to
block the Enterprise reading the life forms, which really seems, that's a conundrum.
Oh, it's
the power that they have.
It's terrible. It's awful. It's dumb. And I don't
their powers extend to the ship, so
for some reason. Like, do we not remember Apollo? We had Apollo.
Apollo was more of a god. These are just people with godlike powers, like Gary Mitchell.
I did think of that as well, and I appreciate that you point that out, Jill. Thank you. These people are like pompous Gary Mitchells, and Gary Mitchell is pretty pompous.
I really want to say hello to Matt G, because he's here.
Matt G.
Hey, Matt G. And also the Nerd Pearl Lifeform says Kirk and Spock learn the ways of the Force in this one. All they have to do is eat the fruit.
Through the power of drugs.
No, actually, it was actually drugs. Not just fruit. Drugs. Blood drugs.
It is funny when they...
Best kind.
I'm sorry to skip ahead, but there is a point where they say, well, how do we get this ketricide into our blood so we can be telekinetic gods? And
you are skipping ahead.
Kirk goes and he picks up well, Jill said it was okay.
That's okay. I did say it's okay.
So Kirk picks up a bowl of fruit, and for like a split second, a nanosecond, I thought that Kirk and Spock were just going to start mowing their faces with fruit. It was like, we have to eat more. It was been like a buffet.
Yeah, that would have been great. But I guess they don't need doctors because they live so long. But I guess nobody ever got a cut or anything in all this time.
Never cut themselves shaving. They don't even shave.
No.
How does Alexander live for all of these centuries if the ketricide doesn't do anything to him? Does it just prolong his lifespan? Is that the only thing?
That's a good question. Maybe that's the only benefit he gets, but he doesn't get, because they're all affected by it. But he's the only one who doesn't have the power, so he has the least amount of power.
And
Harmon has the most amount of power.
Not only are we going to torture you and treat you like Mr. Belvedere for all time in a horrible way, but also you can never die. Congratulations. You're a slave.
Alexander single-handedly saves this episode for me because
absolutely
every time he's able to speak of his own free will, every cringy look as he looks on in horror at others who are suffering the same torture that he's endured for thousands of years, and just how he deals with these bullies.
I do enjoy the camaraderie that Alexander and Kirk have. Like, I like the friendship that develops through the episode. And I like that spoilers for the end, I like that they beam up Alexander. It's like, it was a weird way to end the episode. It was a bad diminutive joke. It was very little.
Well, it wasn't that bad.
It was pretty bad.
We're not going to wait to talk about that, or we're going to talk about that right now?
No, we can do whatever you want.
Bobby, look at my hand.
We would like it if you did anything you wanted.
It's Mommy's house, so...
That's right.
Yes, my children are normally at school, but it's freezing, and Texas shuts down when it freezes.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, we are shut down, my children are here.
That's fine. Much like this episode, your best friends are little people.
It's true. Barbara Babcock was Felena. At 31, she was already on Star Trek before in The Taste of Armageddon. And of course, she was the Squire of Gothos. She was Trelane's mother.
Trelane's mom. It's got it going on.
And it also says Assignment Earth and Tholian Web.
She might have been the computer. She was the computer in Assignment Earth. Yes.
Yeah, she was voices in those. So voice acting. And her voice comes back for The Lights of Zator.
Oh, fantastic.
Mm-hmm. So in this episode, they decide to use the word psychokinetic. It's not a word. They were trying to tell Fred Freiberger, hey, why don't you use the word that already exists? This is telekinetic. But he said he wanted to use psychokinetic because psyche is a Greek word describing the combination of the mind, soul, and heart, and kinesis is also a Greek word meaning motion or movement. So, and it had been, I guess, it had been used before, but it's just silly.
So it's babble.
It's fine.
It's techno babble. Come on, I don't even know what this tetraside
It's
stuff
fine.
is. Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
I thought it was weird, but it's like when they say Klingon or when they say sabotage. It's like, yeah, it's just Star Trek pronunciations. I'm fine.
Yeah. And these Plutonians, they live for a long time, over 2,000 years, but I don't see any children, so I guess they can't propagate, which makes sense because you definitely get hurt when you have babies, so any mothers would just die.
Any lacerations and you're screwed.
Yeah.
Well, they also said they had a eugenics program, which is pretty ominous.
Well, and also there's only 38.
Right. That's why there are only 38 of them, is because they practice the eugenics. And so how many they got rid of, we don't even know what their Holocaust was like.
Yeah.
I do have to excuse myself for a moment. I apologize. I just got a slight laceration, so I got to kidnap an entire crew of people so that I can get a Band-Aid.
I'll just call Dr. McCoy to put the Band-Aid on for you.
I will kidnap a physician currently.
And kiss the boo-boo.
So even though they can live for a long time, their immune system seems to be weak to minor infections and injury. But why exactly is this the case? I'm not really sure. I don't know what really is going on.
So the story can happen.
Oh, is that why? Okay.
Probably.
Let me see what's going on in the chat here. Psychokinetic powers make them lazy as hell. Their immunity is non-existent. And new and improved Chironide, now with more midichlorians. With the Star Wars references, yes, it is a bit like the Force in this episode. They're genetically engineered from their world. Michael Dunn is a great actor. Him and Shatner had great chemistry. Snortopoopas says, I think their lifespan was extended before they left their homeworld. The go-go juice came later, when they arrived on Plutonius.
And they did manage to live on Earth undetected for 100 years, or however long.
Yeah,
Maybe they just normally don't age.
Well, their sun supernovaed and they escaped to Earth, and then they're like, okay, this was fine, let's go home. Sci-Fi Mombi, hello, how are you doing?
No, I got the impression they stayed on Earth until the end of the Greek era.
Yes. Sounds about right. Until Plato died. Have that shiny, sparkly Band-Aid that Lazarus had, Scotty.
There you go.
According to the etymology online, psychokinesis is the supposed psychic power of moving objects by other than physical means. Dates from 1904. Thank you, Snortopoopas.
Yes. Oh. So at that point, it would have been an archaic word.
Yeah. So this episode was designed like a stage play. Most of it took place on 2 sets. And the set decorator said that he only got $500 per episode. So that he said in those days, 500. His name is John Dwyer. In those days, 500
on the set.
Yeah, well, because they did a lot of reuse of stuff. $500 would probably let me rig 2 chairs or build 3 hand preps. So we were always scrounging. Anything I could save, I did. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, so they reused the Greek sets. Paramount had all that, those chairs and benches and urns. I'd always been interested in mythology and knew all that stuff, so I knew what would fit in and what belonged. So, yeah, the supernova of stars happens a lot in season 3, so this is part of that happening again for this society. And I thought you were talking about my size. But no, he was talking about why you don't have the power, the psychokinetic power. So Michael Dunn is 33 years old here, playing Alexander. He was 3 feet 6 inches, and he had the IQ of a genius. He'd been a pianist since 15, and a musician and singer, but he stopped playing piano when he had some physical condition harm his elbow and hands. But he continued to sing. And in the 60s, he was with Phoebe Doran and to form a song and comedy nightclub act. In 1963, he was on Broadway for The Ballad of the Sad Cafe and received a Tony nomination for that. Then he received an Oscar for Ship of Fools. I don't know. I've never seen Ship of Fools, but interesting. Then he also appeared in the pilot for Get Smart as evil Mr. Big. And then he also, of course, worked on the Wild Wild West, which y'all already mentioned. And you told me what role he was in. For some reason, my notes stopped there.
Yeah, he played Miguelito Loveless. And Phoebe Doran was his, aide-de-camp, his romantic interest, Antoinette, and they would sing a duet on every episode that they were both in.
Something that was really weird to me was, well, it's not weird. It's kind of cool, actually, but I'm glad we got Leonard Nimoy. But Gene Roddenberry says that he briefly thought about Michael Dunn playing Mr. Spock.
Yeah.
Roddenberry told interviewer Alan Asherman, I was also considering Michael Dunn a dwarf. I wanted Spock to look different and be different, and yes, to make a statement about being an outsider looking in, which is a very interesting perspective on that.
Yeah, Michael Dunn was on the short list to play Spock.
And that would have gotten a whole lot more short people in Star Trek, because then the Vulcans would be seen that way too.
Well, and I hate to go off track, but I would love to talk about anything except this episode. But in The Most Toys from Star Trek The Next Generation, it was supposed to be another little actor who was going to be Kivas Faggio. And that would have been an interesting performance as well, sort of keeping the spirit of Michael Dunn alive. And I appreciate that was an intention of Star Trek The Next Generation. Unfortunately, things did not play out. It's a tragic story. But not as. No, I can't make that joke.
It was sad. It was a sad story. No, you said it perfectly. It did not end well for him. Supernova are blowing up all over the place in the Star Trek universe. Yes. He played the best villain in Wild Wild West, Dr. Lovelace, with Jaws as his bodyguard.
Richard Keel.
No, Jaws in Wild Wild West. Nerdporial Lifeform seems to know. He seems to be picking up what I'm dropping.
Ballad of the Sad Cafe is also an excellent movie, says Pop Culture.
I will look it up.
But sad.
The cafe? Yes, that's what I heard.
The whole story. Carson McCullers.
Yeah.
Tended to be a sad author based on Carson McCullers' story.
Yes.
And Edward Albee, not known for his comedy.
But Michael Dunn is doing such a charismatic job in this episode.
Charismatic guy.
He was, totes. And I really enjoy the friendship that develops between Kirk and Alexander. I like it a lot.
Yes, Alexander's definitely the best part.
This is the only reason I don't give it an F is because of Michael Dunn.
It's fair. I played this one at the top, but here it is.
Alexander, where I come from, size, shape, or color makes no difference.
And that is the spirit of Star Trek.
Yes,
It is. Yeah, exactly. That's why I really, really love this episode. Might not be my favorite, but it has its moments that are important.
It does. Agreed.
Christine Hurt made a really great observation. She says, I wonder if they just worried about finding other folks to play Vulcans of that height, possibly a reason they did not go with Dunn. That's really makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair.
Very fair.
Seeing Kirk, Spock, and McCoy powerless, seeing Scotty and Uhura and Chapel powerless in this episode, it really, really sticks me between the ribs.
I think
Yeah,
Spock
it's really
refers
painful.
to that in the context of the story. He talks about all the anger he feels.
Yeah, rage, I think he says, which is way, I'm like, you're a Vulcan, yo, and I
Yes.
know you've been trying so hard not to be feeling the feelings.
He not only feels the feelings for himself, but how they affect others.
Well, and one of the standout lines in the episode is when Alexander says to Kirk, that's the first time anyone has thought of my life before their own. And I guess if I'm supposed to take anything away from this, is that selfish people with power suck. So F you, Platonians.
That's right. Yeah, they are jerks. But Liam Sullivan says, okay, so he worked on Star Trek. The telekinesis effects were accomplished by having the special effects men fly the objects on the end of a fishing rod with a fine wire.
Yep.
This turned out to be a tricky and time-consuming process. It required many attempts to get the objects placed directly into the actors' hands. Those FX stunts ate up precious filming time.
I was wondering about those. They
Me
look
too.
like they would be tricky to do.
Oh, would be. I mean, you take and tie it on, and you try to get it to the actor. I bet you they missed a few million times.
I wonder if the difference in, and I don't want to see a comparison video of, let's look at the strings, but like I wonder if the restoration of the DVDs digitally erased those fishing lines. I don't know. I'm just curious.
And you had the one. Yes.
I never seen any fishing rods or lines or anything. They did it pretty good.
You never saw the strings when watching this originally?
No.
Okay.
They were pretty good at that in Trek.
Yeah, it makes sense. This is it must have cost them a couple of $100.
And Jill had a previous shot where Michael Dunn is singing with the harp, and he ends that song with a quote from Aristophanes' The Frogs, which is the Frogs chorus in that play. Yes, the
Very cool.
Rec ek 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 coax, which is something they say over and over, just in the first act, as I understand. But it's like, I'm like, I know that reference. What is it? So I had to go look it up.
Nice.
Interesting.
And if we are talking over Kirk slapping himself, just take your eyes to the top right corner.
Oh gosh, that's.
Yeah, I see that.
I had to wonder how many people took a lot of satisfaction in this, although he's not actually slapping himself. He's air slapping.
I think he's doing a really good job.
I think that if you're a real actor, you actually slap yourself.
I don't know. How many takes? How many? See, then the director's just being sadistic.
No, I think if you're... I've had classes with really good actors, and...
Stop hitting yourself.
Who would
Stop
teach
hitting
you how
yourself.
to teach you how to take a slap.
Yeah, I've taken a few of those classes myself.
Well, there's a fine line between method acting and then just harming yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's a stage, so you can stage slap. You can make a great big sound. You don't have to hit somebody terribly hard.
Well, and again, I want to highlight your sort of understanding of performance. And I think that, yeah, okay, fine. Shatner is air slapping, but the things that he's doing with his face to sell the air slap,
He's selling it.
he's selling it. Like, he's doing good. He's in the moment. I don't think he's doing a bad job.
I would have liked to, like many other people, I think
You
would
just
have
wanted
liked
to
to have
see
seen him
Shatner.
actually slap himself. Yeah.
That makes sense. Also, I do enjoy, like, and we'll get there, but I do enjoy when Spock gets so angry that he crushes like a vase.
It's like a little goblet or something.
I don't know what it is, but he breaks it with one hand. It's amazing.
And yeah,
Never seen him so angry before.
Well, yeah, I have. You don't remember?
When?
Like time.
You think he was angry? I thought he was just horny.
No, he was angry too.
Oh, okay.
Let me alone.
Oh,
Yeah,
good point.
that's
Good point.
some anger.
Yeah, that's anger.
I always wondered if Spock ever hurt his hand doing that.
Well, thank heavens he had his own Dr. McCoy. He didn't have to steal an entire vessel of people just to get one doctor, even though we have an entire list of things that you can do in case of a medical emergency.
There you go.
Dummies.
So the Platonians, they give them, they want to appear grateful, so they give them presents.
The aforementioned list of what to do in case of a medical emergency. And no one ever bothered to read it.
Yeah, right. And then a Kathara for Spock, so the little harp thing.
Sure.
And then a collection of Greek cures written by Hippocrates himself.
Hippocrates.
Oh, Hippocrat. Oh, Hippocrates.
No. You were right the first time. I'm being a jerk.
What? Okay.
Yes, he's being
Hippocrates.
Hippocrates for McCoy. Well, the Hippocratic Oath, I can understand why you would pronounce it differently. Parman appears.
I'm incorrect, and I'm doing it willfully.
No, he's doing it purposely to sow misinformation.
That's
disinformation, actually.
Disinformation is more accurate. Thank you.
Damn it, Scotty.
But the trick here is that they want McCoy to stay on the planet, but McCoy's like, no. And they're like, you can't say no.
And now we wait for half an hour to end, like for the torture to end.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's at least 15 minutes straight of pure torture in this episode.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of it's just sheerly humiliation.
Which is not fun.
It's not fun for anybody.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, and
but
and
it's
they're trying
kind
to tell
of fun
them
to watch. I know that as a teenager, a lot of people sometimes, if you had a little egg on your face somewhere and you were stinging, somebody would come over and sing to you, bitter dregs, and it would lighten the mood.
I was going to ask, Tiger Stripes, do you know the song that Spock sings?
No, I don't. I just know the bitter dregs part. I don't know the whole song.
Yeah, but that would be awesome. But no,
I understand that he put it on one of his albums and he wrote it himself.
Really?
That's what I read.
Right.
But before we get more into that, I did want to say, Jill, Stone Racket had to take off, yo.
He did.
No.
Oh, thanks for letting me know. I hadn't checked the private chat yet. Stone Racket has to go. But I wish that I had known. I would have loved for him to give his review, but he did give his review in the chat. So luckily I did get his review. I would have liked some final words. Like it's okay that he had to go.
Yes, very much. Let us know next time. Yeah.
Yeah, let us know so we could give you, so that we could. I like it when people can give their final review and everything. But he did at least put it in the chat. So he gives it a C for Michael Dunn and Barbara Babcock helped, and Nichelle Nichols helped to elevate this embarrassing episode. So that's mostly what we get. And of course, I'm sure he wanted to share more, but that real life calls. Sometimes real life doesn't give you a moment to say goodbye. But that's okay. That's true. Sometimes it's just like, hey, reality slaps you in the face.
I will do my best to maintain the spirit of you, Stone Racket, because this is a great episode for us to poop on. and I will continue to do so.
I was really looking forward to hearing him say things.
I was too.
It's all right.
He's got business.
Yeah, he's got business, and
he's got pulled away by what's his Parman. Parman pulled him away.
Oh, dang it, Parman!
What a joke.
Okay, so it wasn't that the Plutonians were not powerless. Kirk, Spock, and Bones had more power. Oh, right. Okay, so Franco was talking about the end of the episode.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about that speech, which is weird, but yeah.
Hello to Alan Trioscillator.
Hey, Alan.
What do you use to ship hippopotami? Hippocrates.
Hippocrates. See, someone can pronounce it. Yes.
Alrighty then.
Hey, hello, and hail to Canadian Spider-Man.
Spidey.
Hey.
That was a cute joke.
It was really funny. Yeah.
So they're arguing that their way is better because they control with the mind instead of weapons. But
also, this is a little bit of For the World is Hollow and I've Touched the Sky, where McCoy becomes Velma from Scooby-Doo. Everyone wants her because she's smart and she can't find her glasses or something. And that's exactly how they're treating McCoy in this. He is the damsel in distress. No one will leave without him because they're going to kill the crew if he stays or if he goes. If he stays, there will be trouble. But if he leaves, it will be double.
Right. Well,
anyway, meanwhile, back at the pantomimes.
Yes, that's right. Even if McCoy stayed, they would still kill everyone on the Enterprise because their secret can't get out.
True. I do enjoy...
If their secret gets out, then everybody gets to have the superpowers on this world.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you need that guy from the Yangs and the Comms. Captain Tracy.
You have that great shot of Spock clicking his heels like a real hoofer. That's not easy to do.
He did have a dance stunt double, though.
Ah, interesting. Do you think
later
that's
on,
who that is there?
Yeah, well, that's Leonard Nimoy. But later on, when the tap dancing or I don't know what kind of dancing it is, around Kirk's head, that's a different guy.
The flamenco.
The flamenco around his head, that's a different guy.
Yeah, they're made to sing a song and dance a jig.
Oh, good. But what of Lazarus?
What of Lazarus?
What about
well, they're just beating each other up.
Mm-hmm.
Forever and ever.
Oh my stars! I'm gonna go have a cigarette. You guys talk about this boring Nikes. I almost swore. I'm so sorry.
Oh no!
You guys hold the fort. I'll be back in a second.
Shakespeare.
Yeah, get out, you bum.
I will.
Yeah. While Scotty's smoking himself to death, I can say that I think part of his problem is you do cringe when you see your characters who are heroes being subjected to so much humiliation. But there's a beautiful analogy there between people like Michael Dunn who maybe are subjected to humiliation every day just on the street, by idiots.
That's right. And
so
a lot of kids went through a bit of bullying when they were a kid, but
everybody does.
Some of them get it worse than others, and
yes,
and I'm sure they did. Little people do have to suffer.
It's a great teaching opportunity, as they say.
It is very much, without being overboard about it.
Where's Commodore Boone? I want to hear from him.
I'm here.
What's your take so far?
Oh, I'm just enjoying all the talk that you guys are saying, and just watching the slides and that. I did watch this before I came up. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but I watched up to this part here.
I think it's interesting that they insinuate that forcing a Vulcan to experience all of his emotions all at once could kill him, could be harmful, not just harmful, but detrimental physically to a Vulcan, which is Not something I'd considered a possibility before.
They do give you the impression that Spock has gone completely silent after this. I don't know if they had to. I don't know if they had to put their hand on his shoulder and walk him into the room or something. But they give you the impression that he's just like a step away from being comatose, or there's another word for it.
Catatonic.
Excellent word, catatonic.
Leonard Nimoy had mixed feelings about all the histrionics. He said, I was very uncomfortable with that script. The idea was, let's put everyone up against our limits, turn Captain Kirk into a crawling individual, make Spock cry. But I thought it was crudely done. I'm going to leave it on this still right here. This is the lovely still. Spock being tortured.
It really is.
But I will be right back.
Well, Commodore.
Was Spock laughing at this point?
Yeah.
And Alexander just joining in with the laughter.
He was sort of going along to get along, Alexander. Mm-hmm. That's how he had been surviving for, I guess, thousands of years. God, what a nightmare life.
But of course, a Vulcan is not supposed to express his emotions. That's why they...
And how do they know that anyway? That's kind of an interesting.
Well,
did they just pick up on it because of his general demeanor? And it's not like anybody gave them a lesson in Vulcan.
It's possible with the starship up in orbit, they scanned the records and tapes and all that to find out what they're dealing with.
How do they know to poke Spock in this way?
That's a good postulation on Commodore Boone's part. You kind of have to figure they must have had some way of scanning the rest of the universe for information, or they just wouldn't have known. Because they were psychokinetic, but they weren't mind readers, I don't believe.
Well, if they have the power to look up and drag the Enterprise down, you would think they would have the power to scan all the records and everything to find out what's on that ship and the history of the whole bit.
They make when they're talking in the show about their mass eugenics program, they use the expression "bred for self-reliance," which is a bit of a joke. They can't even cure a scratch, and yet somehow they consider themselves self-reliant.
Yeah, they can't increase their population either, so what are they really doing?
That is a very strange choice.
So, for sure.
Yeah, at this point, they're definitely frozen in time.
Mm-hmm.
An example of how such a horrid thing can have positive in it, even if we don't like it, Spock grows from this experience. I think there is a bit of character growth, yes. I'm not sure, though, exactly what. Oh, and Captain Kirk has to be a horse here? He and Alexander's forced to ride him. So Shatner said, I remember thinking, I hope what I'm doing, trying to appear like a horse and not some idiot, is going to really appear like a horse and not like a horse's ass. Right. It required courage to go out and do that, and to let yourself be free enough to travel that narrow edge between laughter and lucidity.
Wow, he did a pretty good job.
Quite a statement. Well, Shatner is a great horseman. I don't know if he was at this point in his life, but he's very into horses.
Yes, he is. He's still riding horses. Yes, he is. He's still riding his horses.
I believe that's what's kept him going. It's really good for your core strength to ride horses.
Well, not only that, he's been riding his horses and also his motorcycles.
Oh, I didn't know about motorcycles. That's interesting. Oh, and speaking of core strength, I did make a little note somewhere that I thought that Bill looked really slim in this episode. There are episodes where he doesn't, where he looks a little doughy, but he looked pretty trim in this one.
Doughy. Yeah.
And you said it was the 12th one filmed for the season? Yes. Interesting. And yet the 10th one shown.
Wait, no, I think it's the 12th one. I don't know the broadcast order. I didn't pick that one up. I didn't pick up broadcast order. So.
I'm Tweedledee, he's Tweedledum.
Attend upon the hours.
So that was when he was quoting Shakespeare, the sonnet. Oh, this is where Spock is crushing the goblets. So I'll pause.
Scotty really wanted to see this one.
Yes, yes. I'll. That's why I'll pause it there. But I really do.
You're good to him.
I am. I wanted to show this quote.
However, I have noted that the healthy release of emotion is frequently very unhealthy for those closest to you.
Close to us. So yeah. So I really like that whole quote. If you got to hear all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, he's about to crush the goblet.
Yeah, we waited for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I was waiting for you for this one, where he's having to deal with this anger that is being stirred up by the Plutonians.
Yeah, by being robbed of your dignity. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yep.
Well, not just that. They've taken away his control, which is what hurts about seeing this episode.
Yeah. And the thing is that I sort of recall, and I think it might have been Trelane who does it, but I recall Tiger, Tiger, burning bright in the something of the night. And Spock says it, and I always thought it was in this episode, but it must have been Trelane made it, and then McCoy does the same thing, and it's like, you can't do it. He's a Vulcan. If you make him feel emotions, he's going to die. And it's... Well, I don't know. This is a bad cover song of earlier things that I've seen.
Wait, when did they say before that too much emotion can be harmful to a Vulcan?
Well, they say it in this episode specifically, but I think that it is also said previously. I could be wrong because I often am, but I don't
remember.
I think that Trelane makes him start reciting poetry. Oh, I like him better this way, Captain, or something.
Yeah. Alexander, I really like him so much. He's talking about how he used to think it was his own fault that he was treated the way he is, but now he's realizing, that they're jerks. So finally.
There we go. Gavin gets it. Gavin knows it's Tiger, Tiger was Charlie X, and Franco tells me how to say it properly, which is Tiger, Tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. Thank you both.
But how did Charlie X tell us that too much emotion
that tiger with a
would
Y?
Be harmful?
Just want to interject that here.
No, I appreciate that. That's part of the reason why I enjoy the Tiger, Tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. Now that I know how to say it, it reminds me of you.
Thank you. That's the intent. Sorry, Jill.
Well, no, it's okay. I'm just trying to delineate how did we learn Charlie X that.
Gavin Blackburn nailed it.
Yeah, bullseye, really.
Okay. Let me see. Yes. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forest of the night. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry?
Symmetry.
You can say symmetry.
I know, I'm being
William Blake.
goofy.
You are.
He is. I actually lost where I am in my notes. I'm trying to
I'm sorry.
Where it was. No, it's okay. It's not your fault.
How dare I interrupt this episode? It's such a banger.
Damn it, Scotty.
Speaking of anger, Alexander gets angry himself and breaks a vase, and then he gets the idea to hurt the Plutonians.
Yes.
The others.
And this is what, at like the 20-minute mark of the episode, and then I realize we still have 3 days to go.
Mm-hmm.
This is the longest episode of Star Trek I've ever watched.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, they downloaded all the ladies.
Uh-oh.
They downloaded all the... What are you talking about?
I'm talking about when they beamed down Christine and Neo.
Oh, okay, yeah. Downloaded. Yeah, they transported.
Yes.
Beamed down.
Yes. What came back didn't live long, thankfully.
Yeah. Star Trek to motion picture.
Fortunately.
Yes, fortunately. It wasn't. It's not. It wasn't your fault.
It was totally her fault. Actually, it was the guy in the. It was the guy in engineering. It was the guy in engineering.
Oh. Transporter malfunction.
Womp womp womp. Anyway, moving on. Back to Plato's Stepchildren.
Yeah, I'm almost there. I found where it was.
Yeah. No, I enjoy talking about Star Trek, but I would prefer to talk about any other Star Trek.
Of course.
What of Lazarus?
It's kind of interesting at the beginning of this when Alexander says the name of the show, and he says, we call ourselves Plato's stepchildren, but he's really the only one. It's just such a lonely position, unless there's others that we're not seeing of his. He's the only servant.
Guys,
it's tough.
What are you guys doing?
Talking.
Here, this is the first time anybody's ever thought of my life before his own. So this is something you were mentioning earlier.
Yes.
And I also have to say hello to James Caserta.
James Caserta says poop.
Hello. Poop. Your pronunciation subroutine is damaged, says Gavin. Self-diagnostic needed.
Yeah, all right. I'm B4.
Snortapoopus says, you can tell I was operating the transporter. The women beamed down with their clothes on. Oh, I wasn't. Oh, you weren't. Okay, that does change the context of that sentence.
Alrighty then.
And pretty soon we're going to learn how these powers have manifested on this planet.
Like that's a shot, and like in terms of the cinematography, that is a shot that is almost like Waiting for Godot. Just seeing Kirk and Alexander sit beside each other, it does warm my heart. And the way that Kirk interacts with him, I don't know. It's like
it puts them more on an eye level too. To be
that is true.
Next to each other, which I appreciated.
Well, and again, it comes
rather than somebody literally having to look down on him to talk to him.
Yes. And I do appreciate the opening, like the pre-credits scene of this episode. But one thing that I did notice is when Spock, being the tallest of the trio, looking down on Alexander, and I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't feel like Spock should sort of crouch, but like it's very jarring. But then again, we are supposed to be made aware of Alexander's size.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we're not supposed to, as you said, look down upon him.
It is a more respectful to look someone in the eye, and if you're more on their level, then that kind of ability to communicate is enhanced.
This is a new special effect. This is. Yeah.
I wanted to compare.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm gonna find it here.
Okay, you do that.
So I found a little GIF where they go back and forth between the two of them.
I appreciate your accurate pronunciation.
Yes, GIF, not GIF.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is.
There.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's interesting that they used like the biobed readout on the tricorder. You know what? I like the original better.
Right, because it makes me feel like I'm in sick bay.
Yeah, exactly. It's a medical tricorder.
Mm-hmm. Why did they change it?
I don't know.
Okay,
because,
the display.
Well, if I may, suppose what they are doing is comparing and contrasting Alexander and Parman to see who, because Parman is the highest of the keticide infusion or whatever, and Alexander is the lowest. He can't move things with his mind. And so they are, and it is interesting in the scientific regard that we have a baseline and we have an exceptional, and we're going to compare and contrast both of them. How do we do it? And the answer is eat a bowl of fruit.
Oh,
the new one, it's easier to see the discrepancy.
Yes.
With the red and the green, whereas the older one, which and the new one moves, I believe.
Yep.
And the old one was stationary, and your eyes really drawn to those arrows, which are all exactly on the same line, and that doesn't make sense.
Well,
you would think that they should be staggered if you're measuring something that's supposed to be wildly different.
And that's why I think that there is the update, but I'm just saying that I prefer.
Well, they are moving.
Yes, But I prefer the original because it ties me more to sickbay and it differentiates a medical tricorder from a different tricorder. So I don't know. Personal preference, I suppose.
The old one just doesn't make the point.
That's true. I agree with you. Yes. I just prefer the old one.
Yes, so definitely. So it was changed to be a line chart. And so now you can easily compare the blood of Alexander and Parman.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the green line is just normal or human or something. I don't know what the green line was. But that's probably it.
You know what the problem is that I just prefer Venn diagrams.
Well, then neither is going to be satisfactory to you.
This is true. This is very true. I'm sorry. I'm particular when it comes to my medical whatever.
Mm-hmm. Franco likes the new one.
I don't think Venn diagrams are medical.
I don't know. I'm more of a Visa guy than a MasterCard man.
Christine says there were several times when I watched the enhanced version that I wondered why they changed the effects. I like the way it was better.
Christine Hurt, I don't disagree with you because my next watch through of the original series is going to be with the original effects. This one I've been going through with the revised special effects, and I don't think that they've ever done anything really bad. There are a couple times when it's like, oh, you changed something that was a little too much, but not often. So, but I do enjoy the original effects as well.
And so the point is that Alexander tells them that Chironide gave each Platonian a different level of mental powers, but they are not able to combine these powers together.
Right.
For whatever reason.
And they're not stackable.
But you can
like
inject more of it.
Discount.
Well, you can't do like a Care Bear stare. You can't get like 4 of your best buds to go and take down Parman because you can't all Ghostbuster it, if you will.
And that's fortunate because then our heroes would never be able to win because there's so many more of them than there are of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy.
What? Yeah.
Kirk and Spock.
So when they do Kirk
and Spock, only Kirk and Spock get injected.
McCoy doesn't get injected, although I'm not sure, which doesn't make sense. And Alexander says, "I don't want to be like them," which I thought was a very powerful speech.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, agreed. I did get a bit of it.
Become my own enemy?
Yeah, he didn't want to become his own enemy.
A very little bit.
Yeah, a very little bit. There's more to his speech.
Hey,
but it helps me find it.
Herc's here.
So he says, Captain, wait. I know what you're thinking. My humble apologies. You were badly used. In my own... Wait, what am I? That's Parman.
You're Parman.
Okay, so Alexander
Would you call me Wonka?
Anyway. You think that's what I want? Become one of them? Become my own enemy? Just lie around like a big blob of nothing and have things done for me? I want to move around for myself. If I'm going to laugh or cry, I want to do it for myself. You can keep your precious power. All I ask is one thing. If you do make it out of here, take me with you. Just drop me any place. They never heard of Chironide or Platonius.
Yeah, drop them off on SETI Alpha 5.
No.
I don't know.
No.
He knows how to take orders.
He's probably tired of taking orders and wants to be in his own being.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Well, we can drop him off on SETI Alpha 6.
Well, he's not even just taking orders. It's a physical manifestation, and it looks almost a little like having a seizure.
It's a painful subjugation.
The whole time watching this episode, I just thought, man, these people just keep having seizures, and that is what it looks like. But it also kind of feels like when you're in a dream and you think you can control yourself, but you really can't control, or you try to control it, and that's what this episode kind of feels like a bit.
And also, with most of my most vivid dreams, I've woken up in a cold sweat saying, please don't ever do that to me again. And that is much like watching this episode. But what of Lazarus?
But what of Lazarus?
But what of Lazarus? God, I hate this so much. Keep
What
going.
up, Andrew? What up, Landrew?
We're almost there.
I would rather be watching Return of the Archons. Come on, man. Don't tease.
The good of the body.
Every time you point out something that is good about this episode, I'm just like, yes, but then the rest of the episode exists. This is, I would rather be watching the
for
empath.
Return of the Archons, but somebody once gave me a way to reframe it. They said that the beginning of the show is exactly like Mardi Gras in New Orleans.
Yes.
You know, on Mardi Gras, everybody runs around screaming and grabbing each other and going nuts. And then the day after, they all walk around stiffly and can't make eye contact because of the shame. And
I love that episode.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. Well, and speaking of other episodes
Be
that
right
I'd rather
back.
be watching, I think that, you know that episode from Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2, The Royale, where Riker and Worf and Data get stuck in the casino? It's exactly like going to Caesar's Palace, but you can't leave, which is much like this episode.
I will return very shortly. I need
hope
to take care of something. Just a minute.
Tiger Stripes, I do want to say hello to LDG Free the Net.
Oh,
LDG. LDG, what's up?
And the Phantom Boomer. Hello, Boomer. I think you're the right Boomer. I don't know. I've never seen your username in all caps.
Just call him Bloomer.
Bloomer? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I call him.
Oh, now let's not bully.
And I don't want to be neglectful. I don't know if Penny heard me.
Penny.
Penny's here. Boom, ba-doom, ba-doom.
Penny.
Penny Robinson?
Boom, boom, boom. No, Penny from Inspector Gadget.
I
assume. I don't know. Maybe
Penny
Penny
from Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Could be Penny from Pee-wee's Playhouse. Oh my stars! I would much rather talk about Penny from Pee-wee's Playhouse than this episode. But I do
like
have
this
a
episode.
job.
You really need to sort of
take
you
want
a
me
breath
to tone it
now
down?
and then. You need,
All right.
yeah, just
I'll
now
tone
and
it
then. I would prefer it if you just wouldn't talk about your hatred with every single breath you take. Just dial it back a little.
Okay, will do.
Oh, you're too good to me.
And you're very patient, so I appreciate that.
Well, I think we have sarcasm coming in both directions. So good. I like it. Sarcasm ping pong. Commodore Boone, what say ye?
Say what?
We were just asking your opinion about stuff.
Let's see. I was getting
There's West Kegel. West Kegel has arrived.
Christine heard. Hey, West Kegel. Christine in the chat says, I think this episode probably really stretched some of the actors' skills in a good way. And I agree with that. Yeah.
I concur. Again, the cringe factor, the fact that there's so much humiliation involved in the context of the script, I think is what they hated. That's the part that really bothered them, and it should bother them. Well, it reflects again on just the context of bullying.
Yes. Well, and also isn't part of good fiction the ability to push your protagonists to the most horrible of defeats and have them return to grace and overcome the situation.
There's a lot of science fiction, particularly literary science fiction, that makes me really uncomfortable to read. I always have a hard place. Am I growing because of this? And sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not. It's interesting.
Right. Was the discomfort worth it in the storytelling context of the episode?
No.
That will determine how you feel about this one. Hello to the Phantom Boomer Explorers. How are you doing today?
Boomer.
Yeah. Also, Miskatonic Madman. Hello.
Miskatonic.
Snortapoop says everyone loves Play-Doh's Stepchildren.
Well, everybody loves Play-Doh.
Mrs. Hoover, I ate all my Play-Doh.
Uh-oh.
That's not good.
No. Well, actually, it was delicious.
Ralph. Oh. Canadian Spider-Man says, hey, folks, I just hit the like button and shared the stream to help grow this channel. please consider doing the same. Yes, please do. I'm 20 subscribers away from 600. So
lovely. Wonderful.
Fun times happening.
Well, we are, like, if I may be so bold, we are heading towards 666.
Oh, yes, that would be the next.
What do you want to watch
after 600?
Because I would rather talk about anything else but this episode. But, like, what do you want to do as your 666 episode of your subscriber count? What's your favorite horror movie?
We already did Event Horizon, so I don't know.
Oh man, we should redo Event Horizon. I would totally watch that again.
Well, I can make a suggestion.
Yes, please. But Ahura and Chapel.
Well, she was going to make a suggestion.
You may.
No, let's go on. Let's continue.
Okay, let's talk about this episode. Fine.
Moving on.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. And I'm intrigued by the suggestion. I'm going to ask you later. But Chapel and Ahura are being down? Yes.
For the pleasure of Parman?
Yes, he was not entertained enough by our trio, so we needed Ahura and Chapel. And more people have been invited to watch.
Oh, good.
And so they're in these dresses and tunics and togas. They were designed by William Ware Thies. I never had know how.
I always say Thies. I say it like Tiffany Amber Thiessen. So
Thies. Okay. And they went up for auction in December 2018. I wonder who bought them.
I did.
Of course,
I have both of them, and I wear Kirk's more often.
Oh, why is that? Because you like shorts?
Because I'm heavier and shorter.
So Kirk and Spock's powers are not in yet.
No, they haven't booted. We still need a ticking clock to make sure that we have stripped everyone involved of all dignity or self-respect. Like
that guy's wig. The guy with the white hair. I just have to point that out.
What about the other guy with the fake beard, or is that the same guy?
I think it's the same guy.
I hate that guy.
I feel like those might be actually historically correct to be wearing a ridiculous wig and a fake beard as a Greek.
Yeah, it's George Washington, everybody.
Well, Scotty does keep bringing up the alternative factor, and terrible beards are required to be on that level of that episode. And we found it.
I never even thought about it until now, but terrible facial hair is a cornerstone of every effing awful episode of Star Trek. So,
don't look at my fan films.
Well, no, your facial hair is great. I love your beard. It's lustrous.
But I like some self-deprecating humor. Here, Spock is singing the serenade that Leonard Nimoy composed, "Made in Wine."
When can we watch Way to Eden?
Oh, I got something from the 365 book I'm going to read.
Okay.
So you're going to listen to me.
You have a microphone, so for sure.
Although the Platonians forced Kirk and Spock to engage in several bizarre activities, one can imagine that Kirk might not have objected to kissing her under different circumstances. And while Spock likely wouldn't have been a big fan of flamenco dancing in any event, there's a chance that he might have enjoyed singing Made in Wine, assuming he could kick back and slip out of those pointy ears. Which is to say, if he were in his Leonard Nimoy persona, since Nimoy himself wrote the song.
Oh.
Nimoy's professional singing and songwriting career began during Star Trek's first season, when record executives from Dot Records, then a subsidiary of Paramount Pictures, approached the producers to inquire about releasing a Star Trek-themed album. Recognizing an opportunity to bring in some additional revenue, Herb Solo, then Desilu's executive in charge of production, quickly penned a memo to Desilu's business affairs office urging the organization executives there to enter into the request requested deal with Dot, or for that matter, any other record company that wanted to do anything along those lines. Be it straight, dramatic, weird music, Nichelle Nichols singing Bill Shatner during bird calls, or even the sound of Gene Roddenberry polishing a semi-precious stone on his grinder. Nimoy's big break came about when the daughter of Dot Arranger producer Charles Green encouraged her dad to put Mr. Spock on that Star Trek themed album. Nimoy agreed to do it. And the album, which as a result would be titled Mr. Spock's Music from Outer Space, was cut. The record was successful enough that Dot asked Nimoy to sign a long-term contract. When Nimoy composed Made in Wine, he may have had one of his upcoming albums in mind. Plato's Stepchildren hit the airwaves in November 1968. Made in Wine, a longer version with musical arrangement, would appear in the album The Touch of Leonard Nimoy the following year.
Alongside the number one hit, I don't know where it got in the Billboard charts, but isn't there like a Bilbo Baggins?
Yeah, yes. I don't know which album you find that on, but yes, The Ballad of Bilbo Baggins. It was released alongside the animated film of The Hobbit.
Well, and also, I
had a lot of fun.
Well, no, but can I just sing a few bars of the? Oh, I love this. Is one of my favorite songs. Bilbo Baggins, king of the wild frontier. Anyway, that's my favorite song from 1966.
Sounds like Daniel Boone to me.
No, it's
Davy Crockett is
monkey.
The analogy that Scotty's striving to make.
No, I wasn't struggling.
He's the bravest little hobbit of them all.
Indeed he is.
I'm sorry. I'm not, but I am sorry.
Only 3 feet tall.
Who, Daniel Boone?
No, Bilbo Baggins.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Davy Crockett. Never mind. Where's Paul Bunyan?
In the woods.
With ox.
Anyway.
The blue ox. Blue.
Anyway, before we get to the big kiss here, I do want to talk a bit about the one between Chapel and Spock.
Also, before we get to the... Hang on. If I may interject, I would like to say... I'm interjecting because today is the day after Martin Luther King Day, and I think that it's appropriate that we're actually reviewing one of the most seminal television moments of all time.
We're coming to the kiss. We're going to get there.
We're gonna kiss. Okay, so as long as we're going to kiss.
You're absolutely right. It is very important to mention that, and Martin Luther King is a big reason why we've had Nichelle Nichols in the show for as long as she's here.
True.
Because early on, she wanted to quit because she wasn't getting many lines. There wasn't much for her to do. But Martin Luther King said, this is the only program I let my kids watch. I let them stay up late for. And that it was very important to him. And through his inspiration, she stayed on the show.
I understood from Nichelle that he also told her she was a role model to everyone, in the country watching the show. And it was just important to see her in that position.
That's exactly what he told her. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and it's one of my... Whenever I talk about Nichelle Nichols and the character of Uhura, and subsequently named Nyota Uhura, I go to the Savage Curtain, and I'm going to say it because I don't think it's blasphemous.
Look, but not if you're talking Star Trek.
No, she is a charming negress. And then Abraham Lincoln says, you know what? I'm sorry. Maybe my words were abrasive to you. And Uhura says, you know what, dude? In my time, words cannot cause offense. Or something along those lines. What I'm saying is that descriptives are not necessarily derogatories.
My favorite Nichelle Nichols.
We've learned not to. We've learned not to
fear maiden.
Fear words.
And Nichelle said, "Sorry, neither." And
yeah, that's a good one too.
She came up with that line herself.
That makes sense. Oh, and
I love that.
Pretty hilarious.
In Star Trek.
I love that line. That is my favorite line too because
fair damsel.
Bye, Edge of Time. Take care.
No, it's fair maiden, because maiden has a meaning too.
That is true.
That's right.
Hence,
And
sorry,
both of those meanings were intended.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And she said no, sorry. Anyway, I do like it. Of all the things,
how do you stop for a
Edge of
second?
Time is leaving.
I will stop.
Okay, good.
I didn't even know Edge of Time.
Yeah,
was
calm
here.
down, guys. Oh yeah, I did announce Edge of Time. I did say hello to him earlier, and we'll see you later, Edge of Time. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
But okay, so you did mention Savage Curtain. You wanted the quote after Lincoln calls her the charming negress.
Oh, I can't believe you said it. Gorilla, buy a lottery ticket.
But why should I object to that term, sir? You see, in our century, we've learned not to fear words.
Exactly.
But in all of the meaning to our culture and how impactful this was to the times of the 60s, I didn't want to skip talking about Chapel and Spock's forced kiss, despite their protests.
Yes.
Chapel confesses that she had always wanted to be close to Spock. We know she's loved him. We know she's loved Spock for so long, but she didn't want to do it like this.
No.
And
he actually apologizes to her too, which is pretty amazing for the era.
It is.
For so long, I've wanted to be close to you. Now all I want to do is crawl away and die.
That is.
And
she's being controlled. That's why.
Oh, you know what? You guys are going to make me upgrade my stupid score.
Well, this kiss touches my heart a bit because Chapel has always been in love with him, and Spock knows this too. So this kiss isn't as torturous as the one between Kirk and Uhura, who haven't had these feelings for one another. Even as painful it is for both of them, I do like when we do get to Uhura and Kirk's kiss, with what she says to keep herself strong in the face of this forced mental manipulation. Mm-hmm. And how she says, she confesses to Kirk that she's calmed by Kirk's presence as a captain whenever she's frightened on the Enterprise.
It is weird that Chapel just shows up out of nowhere. We don't get Chekhov, we don't get Sulu, but we get a Chapel.
No Chekhov, no Sulu.
No, they want
right.
Remember, Cupid's arrow kills Vulcan.
Yeah.
You've never met T'Pring, you fake bearded freak.
It's the wig.
It is the wig. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make fun of the fake beard.
Oh, you both. Again, yeah. I'm not so sure those weren't both historically accurate for the Greeks.
Like a chin merkin?
I think so.
All right. Anyway, this is one of the most, like, in TV Guide's top moments in television. This is, like, in the top 10, I think.
It was a big deal at the time.
It was a big
deal. You don't
deal.
know from.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, groundbreaking.
I would see you so busy at your command, and I would hear your voice from all parts of the ship. My fears would fade. But I'm not afraid.
See, it's an interesting progression what Parman and the Philomena, they put Kirk and crew through, is that it starts off with just humiliation. Then it goes to sexual humiliation because they're making these people who do not want to do anything that is being foisted upon them. And they have to acknowledge it to work through it. And then after the coitus games, they go to the violence. That's when, and I think that is egregious because people say it's like, oh, it's the first interracial kiss. And then Parman makes Kirk pick up a whip and strike Uhura with it. And I find that, very,
it's
very
horrifying.
It is horrifying. This is a terrifying episode of humiliation, and I don't like any minute of it. I'm angry at this episode for being good, I guess.
I checked on both Nichelle and Bill's feelings on this, Shatner changes the story every time he tells it, which is kind of interesting.
So it makes more sense to listen to her, right?
Well, given that context, sometimes he says it didn't matter. Sometimes he says I didn't actually kiss her. He's just
no. Actually, they both agree that their lips didn't actually touch because he had like a cold sore or something. And
wow, that's a new one I haven't heard yet. Because I heard they kissed.
I heard it on.
It's part of the reason.
In every different way, but she says.
Well, okay, I'll tell you. I heard the cold sore thing when I was listening to Clauby's and Raquel's review of this episode. So I don't know where that came from. But no, it might not be. No, I don't think so.
I'm gonna need a source.
The worst thing that she said was,
I need one too.
For her, and it would have been bad for anybody, was that they really saved this scene for the end of shooting. They made a big deal about it. They took her into the suits offices and sat her down and lectured her about it. And you said she had a wonderful rejoinder to them. And they all stood around and watched while it was filmed. And Roddenberry got involved, as well he might. And put his foot down and said, no, we're keeping this in. It's important. And so it was a big deal.
Yeah, they tried...
She also did give Shatner credits, a story he's never told. She said that one of the last shots, they wanted this kind of shot where her head obscures their lips so that you can actually not see their lips touching. Mm-hmm. And that on the shot, Bill looked up right into the camera and crossed his eyes, nice. To wreck the shot so that it couldn't be used.
Exactly, because there was supposed to be some kind of deal where, okay, we're going to film the kissing scene and then we're going to film a scene with not kissing. But they absolutely wanted the kiss, so they messed up any shots without it.
Yeah.
I do want to say hello to Lemon. Hey, Lemon.
Hello,
Lemon Pie.
And also, I do want to sort of add on to what you're saying, is that let's not forget that these are things that these people do not want to do. So if there is any indication of resistance, it's because they are not having a good time. And also, neither am I.
And also, according to Nichols, in an early script, it was supposed to be Spock, but William Shatner said if anybody's going to kiss Nichelle Nichols, it's going to be me.
It's going to be him.
But also, to Fred Freiberger's credit, I don't get to say a lot of nice things about Fred.
That doesn't happen very often.
I know, but he agreed with the bill for the right reason. He says, why can't it be Nimoy who kisses her instead of Shatner? I said, for the very reason you want it to be, because he's Vulcan and it's going to be acceptable to everyone that a black girl is kissed by a Vulcan. I want it to be Shatner. It's got to be him. It was really a big thing, and I wanted Star Trek to do that.
And that was Gene?
No, that's Fred Freiberger.
Well, then good for Freiberger. I think that Freiberger, this is, as much as I'm crapping all over this episode, this is a really important episode of Star Trek, yo.
Yes, DC Fontana also said there were Southern stations that told NBC, well, we're not going to run this show because you have a black woman on the bridge. She then added, and Gene Roddenberry told NBC to tell them to go to hell. According to Nichols, who said the scene struck a chord for her personally because her own grandpa was white and grandma was black. But professionally speaking, it was just a kissing scene.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that the 365 book also says. It's the stuff of legend. The kiss between Kirk and Uhura and Plato's Stepchildren in 1968 was American television's first interracial kiss.
Incorrect.
Except, like most legends, it's not entirely true. One, by definition, interracial means relating to, involving, or representing different races. There are many races on planet Earth, not just two. And technically speaking, prior to the episode Plato's Stepchildren, Kirk had already kissed at least one woman of another race, even though television viewers were not yet aware of that fact.
Marlena Moreau?
And Alana of Troyes.
Oh, right.
Shot 10 episodes prior to Plato's Stepchildren. Kirk smooched Asian American actress France Nguyen. The episode, however, would not air until 4 weeks after Plato was broadcast. Star Trek is a dramatic program, dramatized fiction, if you will. But these are there are other kinds of television programs and other shows that got to first base ahead of Star Trek. Actress
No pun intended.
Anne Bancroft raised eyebrows when she gave Sidney Poitier a kiss on the cheek, along with his Oscar on the Academy Awards broadcast of 1964. And in 1967, Nancy Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. greeted each other with an on-screen kiss in the televised musical variety special, Moving with Nancy.
Yeah, but Nancy Sinatra is Frank Sinatra's daughter, and for Sammy Davis Jr. to be like all snuggle bunny with her, that's kind of weird. It's like me hanging out with my best friend's daughter.
Oh. 3. Audiences may think they saw Kirk and Uhura kiss in this episode, but did they really? Reportedly, the network exerted quite a bit of pressure on the production to keep William Shatner and Nichelle Nichols from achieving actual lip lock. For most of the sequence, Uhura and Kirk are in profile, but just as they're about to kiss, the camera moves in and Kirk swings Uhura ever so slightly toward the camera. Now, the back of her head blocks part of his face, and as he leans forward, the audience can't quite see what's going on. Do their mouths touch? Probably. But do they actually kiss? Well, no. As a newspaper editor said in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, when the legend becomes fact, print the legend.
Yes.
There you go.
Agreed. Yes. So that also, you know what, now that we've talked about that cultural significance, I'm going to bring it. Yeah, no, I'm upgrading it from a D. Maybe I'll give it a C. But I don't want to. Maybe D plus. D plus. Anyway, meanwhile, back at the dance.
Yeah. Yeah, right. There's the rest of this episode.
Oh my God. I have to
More happens.
I have to go mow the lawn.
You have to mow the lawn. It's snowing outside, Scotty. What are you talking about?
Anything that will get me, just give me 10 minutes. I need to step away from this because you guys are going to talk about this like you like it.
How do you know that? You don't know what we're going to say. So yes, they do have to crack bullwhips at Uhura, and Spock brandishes the hot poker at Chapel, and yes, it's terrifying. I'm not going to say any good things about it. I don't know why that is insinuated that I would.
It was powerful. It's particularly powerful to see a whip being cracked at a black person, at someone who's African American.
Yeah, that's what's horrifying about it.
Yeah,
I mean, for the audience anyway.
Yes.
But what breaks it up is Alexander sneaking up on, trying to kill Parman. And that's when the mental fight ensues between Parman and Kirk. They fight over the mental control over Alexander's ability Kirk's trying to keep Alexander from hurting himself, while Parman is trying to get Alexander to turn the knife on himself.
That was hard for me to watch because it looked as if Kirk was really using Alexander as a pawn. It's possible that Alexander really just did want to hurt Parman and scratch him, and that Kirk was at. But my impression is that each of them are using Alexander as a pawn to attack the other, even though that's maybe not what's happening.
You're right. That's absolutely what I saw too.
That's the way it felt.
That is the way it felt, because then after Parman can't get Alexander to hurt himself, he tries to get Alexander to hurt Kirk, and that's when Kirk turns the tables.
But it is possible that Alexander has some power in there on his own, because he does have the line, where he says, let me finish him, let me kill him.
Yeah, right. Let me do it. Let me see if I have that. I think I might. Let's see.
So,
stop me. Let me finish him off.
Do you want to be like him?
Yeah. But
it does
feel like just seconds before he was using him to kill Parman. But so it's just, the physicality is a little unclear of what's happening.
Christine says, clearly, though, this episode didn't make the right people uncomfortable enough with how they use and abuse their power.
Well, it makes people paying attention aware.
Yes. I really think the whole idea was to make people pay attention to that discomfort level, and it was very high. I'm a contrarian, says Snortopoopus. The more Scotty expresses his hatred, the more I love it.
Yay!
That's
there you go.
Star Trek. And hello to Sci-Fi Sith Dan.
Sci-Fi Sith Dan.
Howdy, howdy.
Do you think these episodes were used later in Xena or Hercules? Probably. I don't know.
The outfits go into the wardrobe library. They pop up decades later.
For sure. Hey, did I say hi to Herc 130? I don't know. Hello. Let them eat cold soup. Gazpacho. For the plebiscite. Okay. At least Leonard Nimoy is a better singer than Shatner. In the same way that bagpipes are better than a dentist drill. Well, okay, if we want to see the puppy, we can see the puppy.
Oh my gosh, that is adorable. Oh my gosh. Oh, how beautiful.
I made a video of these.
English Cocker Spaniel?
Cocker Spaniels. I made a short video yesterday.
Oh, 2 Cocker Spaniels.
Over 400 views just in a few hours.
Oh, pet that other puppy too. Oh, they're both so jealous of each other. That's hilarious. No, but English cockers as opposed to American cockers, right? You can tell because of the beautiful nose and the lack of the jowls.
Yeah.
Oh, they're gorgeous. Oh.
Yep, beautiful puppies.
What are their names?
Roxy here and Cuddles down here.
Ah, Roxy and Cuddles.
Roxy gets in a lot of trouble.
Well, that's what you get for naming her Roxy.
Yeah, and Christine Hertz says, Spock seems to feel this is somehow his failing, that full-blooded Vulcan's mental ability might be strong enough to resist this kind of mental takeover. Yes, it was very painful for Spock to lose control, as much as it is painful for us to see.
I loved listening to him talk about his anger.
What?
That was good stuff.
Absolutely.
Yep. Dr. McCoy gave the drug to Alexander in order to develop the power.
Oh. Every time I scroll, StreamYard is bouncing around. It doesn't stay still. It's driving me crazy. So if I skip anybody's chats, it's probably... I'm going to blame it on StreamYard. Anyway. Oh, speaking of which, Grilla's Random Thoughts is here. Hello, Grilla. Welcome back. Oh, come on already. I don't find it horrifying that there's a whip being cracked at her because she's black. I find it horrifying because she's a human being. Yes, exactly.
There you go.
Yes, Miss Kegel. Agreed. But it's a thing that the historical context can't be stripped away from it completely because slavery did exist. So there
Especially
is a racial
in the
element to it.
1960s, which is
But
when
I
we were
agree
watching
with
it,
what
even though it's
exactly.
Yes.
And so, but I agree with Wes Kegel's sentiment also, though. That is absolutely true.
When Nichelle says that, one of her grandparents was white and one was black, well, there's some context there, too. And I haven't really looked into it, but usually that means one thing.
And, of course, Americans are often centric to our own history. And so, of course, we're talking about the slavery in our nation, but like Canadian Spider-Man says, all human races have been enslaved.
I've actually had a whip cracked at me, and it's amazing the control that people can have when they're doing that. It's amazing. I had somebody, theatrically crack one around me and then eventually wrap it around my waist. It did not hurt, didn't come close. He said, "No, I can do this." I'm like, "Okay, let's go."
But Alexander struggles. His conscience is telling him one thing and his rage is telling him another, but eventually he decides to drop the knife.
Did we lose the slides?
Yeah, we did, because there was a puppy. And so
Oh, well.
Slides.
All right.
2 puppies.
Ooh.
Only thing better than 1 puppy.
Yeah, but I have 3 puppies.
Ooh, so do I.
They're the most contemptible things that ever lived in this universe.
What did you call me, Wonka?
They're the most contemptible things that ever lived in this universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Selfish, power-hungry monkey people who are only in any concern for their own self-gratification. These people, the Platonians, are deplorable. The fact that I would absolutely obliterate their biosphere if I were a Ben Sisko.
Oh, but then where would you send them? They'd be homeless.
To hell.
Oh, okay. I guess that's fine.
Well, no, it's not fine. It's unbecoming.
No, it's not. It would be a war crime.
It's unbecoming for a Starfleet officer.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, there's only 38 of them. You can sweep them under the rug.
Yeah,
and so now,
how many make it right, Admiral? 30? 38? 100?
38.
1,000?
There are only 38.
How many, Admiral? Insurrection rules.
How many more? Yep.
#, insurrection rules.
Yep.
And
doesn't matter.
I mean, well, the Plutonians are finally convinced to not be jerks, because anybody can now come to their planet and harness the powers therein. So now there's nothing. They can't.
Oh, they have no power like
anymore.
that guy.
Yeah, they lost their power. They still have their power, but they really can't use it for evil anymore.
It's true. Anyway.
Yeah.
What a lovely
That's the
program.
episode.
What of Lazarus?
What of Lazarus? In my opinion, while they're deplorable, it's the heart, the thing that they're afraid. They're deplorable for letting their fear of losing their power, their safety net, and control. Mm-hmm.
I think the word eugenics is pretty deplorable to start with. When you're starting with eugenics, that's kind of perverse.
Well, yeah, and eugenics leads to genocide, of course. Yes. Herc130 says Jim's dogs are all friendly. Hey, Jim, what does PJ, the toothless cat, do when he gets on camera? Don't answer that.
He plays harmonica.
Okay, so what are y'all's final thoughts?
So you're not gonna finish up with the last line of the show?
Right.
Yeah, we do have to do that.
I have a little surprise for you.
Yeah.
I'm bringing a visitor aboard.
And I hate to bring up the filth, but I was like, oh, this is where Scotty got Keenzer. You remember Keenzer from the reboot movies? That little alien boy?
Oh.
The short fella.
What are you talking about? I had to step away for a second. What's happening?
You know when Simon Pegg gets Deep Roy, and I'm speaking only of their actor names.
Sure.
Deep Roy is, a diminutive gentleman.
Mm-hmm. He's got a face like a little oyster.
He does have a face like a little oyster.
Oh,
and I'm
the
just
alien sidekick?
And at some point, Pegg actually riffs on that.
Yes.
You with your face like an oyster.
Yeah.
Scotty never had a little alien sidekick.
Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
In a different
little surprise for you.
Little surprise.
Thank you.
For you. Delicious.
Yeah, I kind of wish he'd said big surprise. And
you know what? That would have been better.
I would have liked it more. But I went down the rabbit hole trying to find the point at which the association became the Association for Little People, and I couldn't track it at all. There was just nothing there. I know that it started out, Billy Barty started an association, and he did initially use the word midgets, and then it eventually became midgets and dwarves, and then eventually it became little people. And then at some point, looking at research for Michael Dunn, somebody said he didn't like the term little person. He didn't like to be called that. I'm like, that's interesting. Because, again, that would have been in the mid-'60s, and I don't think I was aware of little people as a term for people of shorter stature. I feel like it was the early 70s, but it might have been one of those things like most waves of change that start in New York or Los Angeles and then just sort of work their way in.
Well, that is the prevailing term now.
Little people? And but again,
people.
I don't like little people.
I just feel like little might have been a reference to that change, to the use of the term. That might have been specifically why they picked that word, rather than just the obvious joke.
And for the you think that it was a sort of cultural, they're not midgets, they're not dwarves, they're little people.
Yeah.
But I don't like little people as a term.
It's what they prefer, so I would go with that.
Isn't dwarfism like a medical condition? And being a midget is different from being a dwarf. And
there's all kinds of reasons for being under 4'10". I mean, lots and lots of reasons. Yeah. But the term, the M word is considered really offensive now.
Is it now?
Yes, agreed. Yes, it is.
I did not know.
Yes.
Yeah, technically speaking, true.
Well, I don't want to.
But you were even saying Michael didn't like that term.
I heard somebody say, somebody who should have known. I think it might have been Phoebe Doran.
I think I'll just call him
information on her.
Then in that case, I'll just call him Michael.
Michael Dunn.
Yeah,
yes, that's what he preferred. He just wanted to
Michael
do
Dunn.
Michael Dunn.
Don't look at me differently from who I am. Just look at me for who I am.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So first of all, I want to get the review and score from Jim Commodore Boone. Please tell us, what do you think about this episode? What's your score? And then tell us, what do you think?
Well, I think it was a good, interesting story. It had a lot of up and downs in it, as we all talked about in the whole thing. I gave it a A, but that's just because I love Star Trek. I grew up with Star Trek, so that's why I gave it an A. But it does open your eyes up in a lot of stuff that's in this episode. And it's worth watching over and over again, in my opinion.
Well, great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And what do you think, Scotty R37, about this episode, and what do you grade it?
I give it, I'm going to stick with my D. I'm giving it a D. I do not like seeing my heroes be tortured and manipulated and danced around like puppets for no good reason for an hour, just so that they can be virtuous and give forgiveness. These people, these Platonians, Parman needs to be stabbed in the face. And I don't like I love the performances of everybody involved in this episode. It's not a bad teleplay. I understand the cultural significance of what is attributed as being the first interracial kiss on broadcast television. But I hate this episode with the white hot intensity of 1,000 Suns. You know what is better than this? What if Lazarus?
Yeah, those are big words coming from Scotty R37. Thank you.
You know what? But I would rather.
Oh, sorry.
I would wait. No, but you know
Go
what?
ahead.
It's still better than Star Trek Nemesis.
Well, yes, that is fair. Oh no, goodness gracious! Something got in my way.
Uh-oh.
Okay, here we go.
We need Tiger
Stripes.
Well,
what do you think about this one?
The Commodore has put the heart in me. I give it an A. Just because I did adore Michael Dunn. I love his work. I will always love his work. And he really makes this episode for me. It opens with him. It closes with him. And the kiss was a very big deal at the time. But it also kind of points out the torture and humiliation, that people can undergo just from words. And it doesn't have to be literal constriction on your body, just from words. I think it's important. I like it. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's not without the cringe. It's really hard to watch your heroes being forced to humiliate themselves. And again, I've told you my thing about bitter dregs, which is still a bit of a punchline for a lot of my group. But I liked it.
I'm going to have to find that song. I'm going to have to find that song.
Yeah, it is out there. So, man, I could definitely echo with it being super difficult to watch the crew of the Enterprise have to undergo this torture and having to do things they don't want to do. The Plutonians are vapid, uninteresting sadists who, to me, brought no value and whose inanity took up way too much of the runtime trying to convince us they're bad. We know they're bad. Mm-hmm. Alexander was the main saving grace for me out of all of them, and he totally ruled. He was smart enough to get the F out at the end. He didn't try to become the hero of the Plutonians or anything. He's just like, no, I got to get out of here. I suffered for 2,000 years. I get to go home. I get to go somewhere where I'm appreciated now, away from these horrific people. Oh my goodness.
They're the most contemptible things that ever lived in this universe.
But Parman, he tries to be redeemed at the end, but there's nothing redeemable about him.
Uncontrolled, power will turn even saints into savages. And we can all be counted upon to live down to our lowest impulse.
It's so terrible that at the end of the episode, he's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it kind of reminded me of Bem. You remember when Bem was a total jerk the entire episode, and then at the end,
yes,
he was like, I'm sorry.
Oh my God, this episode is worse than Bem. That's huge, Jill. I didn't even think of Bem, but yes, this episode is worse than Bem.
This episode is worse than Bem, but because I like
with an interracial, not a kiss. It's not
exactly. And so, what it is that elevates this episode above Bem is Alexander and her.
Yes, I think
and of course, I get the idea of the episode that power corrupts not only your mind but also your body, your soul, and everything. But there's parts of the episode that drag for me a bit, especially all the sycophantic dialogue that the Plutonians recite as if they're being clever when they're really just being incredibly tedious. Because I love to read and I love all the literary references, but it seems like they're just throwing them out into this random soup of nonsense. And Alexander and the kissing
it's like
scene
hanging
with
out with Captain Cockney Spock.
And Kirk drag this one out of the F range. So I'm feeling a D+. I'm leaning to a C-, just out of just feeling of love for the series, even though the Plutonians suck. Alexander and her and the crew of the Enterprise do not suck. And at least the Plutonians recognize their folly at the end, but they're only truly defeated because Kirk, Spock, and McCoy found a way to neutralize their power, and so now anybody can have it.
Yep.
So, I think I'll be nice and go up to a C-.
This is okay. Well, then you're a gracious lady, but
I am.
I think that this episode is probably the closest in spirit to an animated episode.
Okay.
Just because it's like, what are we gonna do?
Well, you know what?
We could get superpowers, and then McCoy injects everybody with superpowers, and we wait until it kicks in.
As a special treat, I saw this at the end of Mark Cushman's These Are the Voyages, and this is, I haven't read it yet, but it looks like this is Gene Roddenberry's review. After the fact, he couldn't submit his notes while it was going on, so he says, as usual, although I like the episode immensely, I will concentrate on the negative. My greatest criticism of Plato's Stepchildren is that the first reel comes off rather like Lost in Space. Now, that should shake you up, since you've got to be asking yourself, how could anything done with taste and talent compare with that particular kiddie show?
I can't believe it. There's a book that says Lost in Space sucks.
Really?
Well, this is Gene Roddenberry. The reason
Gene Roddenberry is saying that Lost in Space sucks, and so
Crikey, let her finish, for God's sake.
He's not saying it sucks. He says it's for kids, and it is for kids.
Please
reason
continue.
is that in our episode, we haven't in the slightest given the audience any reasonable explanation of these humanoid people, how they got here, why they so much fancy Greek philosophy and the clothing of the small era in Earth's history, etc. The way the episode begins, now we sort of get the feeling that Captain Kirk and the others are saying, oh yes, here we are in another one of those Greek philosophy planet places. Remember how Lost in Space would be in a planetary Chinatown one week, Greece the next, a Western setting the next, without even a logical explanation of why or how? Mm-hmm. To keep Star Trek in its proper perspective and to keep Kirk, the ship and crew, and Earth in their proper intelligent perspectives, we must constantly keep in mind that Earth is only one of tens of thousands of inhabited planets. Although Earth is a principal factor in the Federation, it still is only a speck of matter in the vastness of space. Earth's history and its customs and costumes are only in an infinitesimal fraction of the enormous variety of life and society and customs found throughout the galaxy. If, as with this particular episode, our starship on a far-off planet should come upon some people who have adopted Plato's philosophies so completely, it would be a source of considerable surprise and not a few questions. In other words, in this particular episode, as in recent others, I fear that we are losing our sense of wonder about space and the strange things we find out there. We have an excellent show here, but it could have been made even better if our audience could be made to believe in this place and the people. One way to make them believe is when an unusual occurrence, our captain and landing party also recognizes it as unusual and comments upon it. Time after time in our past episodes, we said it seems impossible that it exists, and yet it does. So there must be logic and reason behind it. It is probably out of that logic and reason we will find an answer to the jeopardies in which we find ourselves. The public never gets tired of our characters trying to untangle that kind of puzzle. And that's what Gene Roddenberry had to say about Plato's Stepchildren.
Wow, was this out of a book?
Interesting.
Yes, this was from These Are the Voyages by Mark Cushman.
Yeah, that's quite a treatise.
Sure is.
Does he deal with every episode that way? Roddenberry?
Usually he has something to say during the writing of the episode, sometimes where he can actually influence
I meant
the way the
in
episode
this book,
goes.
does he have an observation on every episode?
No, that's why I thought this was kind of special. So
Wow.
this was really interesting to me that he wrote such a big,
But
he had
also,
so many feelings about it.
Before we start throwing parades and everything, like this is, as I mentioned, and I think that we all agree, and I think Gene would agree, this is an important moment in the history of television. And so any chance
he would
that Gene Roddenberry can hitch his wagon to something that is profitable, he woulda.
Right. No, something else Roddenberry said. Captain Kirk and Lieutenant Uhura's kiss was an integral part of the storyline, and it never occurred to me to question whether Kirk should kiss a black person or not. I had, by that time, achieved a certain clarity about those things. As a matter of fact, long before Captain Kirk kissed Lieutenant Uhura, I kissed her many times.
Dear me.
I kissed a black girl. Yes. I liked it.
Well, that's yes. I haven't ever really looked into their relationship, but I understood. I understand that they did have one.
We've discussed it previously. Gene attempted to sort of create himself a triumvirate at one point, and Nichelle said, "Thank you, I appreciate the offer, but I will decline because I know how much that Majel loves you." And so that is something that we've discussed previously on this particular program.
Yes, and also I want to make sure I share what the chat says about this episode. They rate it 50% give this episode a B, 29% an A, and 13% a C, and only 8% grade it a D or below.
I think I'm the 8%, maybe Gorilla.
Maybe.
I was watching the Emmys last night, first time in a long time, that I actually bothered to watch them. Meh. It was the 75th year for the Emmys, and they had a homage, they had a collage of important moments in television, 75 of them. I didn't count them. It seemed to go by awfully fast. I felt like they cut it short. Maybe they didn't. It didn't feel like 75 at all, but the kiss was in there.
And I would also like to, while we speak of Star Trek and the Emmys, last night, I think Star Trek Strange New Worlds was nominated for Best Cinematography, and it lost.
No.
Well, no, I'm fine with that. I'm
fine with that too. I think Strange New Worlds is awful.
Well,
Christine Hurt says.
I like the one where they go to Toronto. Have you seen the one where they go to Toronto?
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad. I enjoy that episode.
It's pretty good.
I thought that was bad because they destroyed Toronto.
Well, they've already destroyed it by being on the air, so whatever.
Okay. Anyway, if you want to go somewhere where they don't talk about bad Star Trek.
We're talking about Plato's Stepchildren. What of Lazarus?
Okay, yeah, it's bad, but it's not
I'd still rather watch this episode. No, you know what? That episode of I would rather watch the Toronto episode of Strange New Worlds than watch this again. That's harsh.
That is pretty harsh.
And again, this episode is better than Nemesis, and so function your math accordingly.
Yeah. Man, I don't like that math, but I don't have to agree with your opinion.
This is true. Never have.
James
never will.
Says, yeah, no. Well, that's why we're friends.
Yeah.
And Frankel Walker says, if we have a similar experience, we can easily mix the two memories together. Interesting idea. Let's see. In the Sea Hunt episode Proof of Guilt, aired in 1959, Lloyd Bridges and Nobo McCarthy shared a kiss near the end of the episode, says Nornapupus Cuber. Oh. Well, there you go. Was that the first kiss?
I don't know where the first kiss was. I thought it was on the lieutenant, but...
Well, no, that's not right.
Yeah. But I'm wrong, consistently.
Yes, you are. Yeah. So I forgive Shatner his embellishments of memory. Yeah, me too, because he's entertaining. When I listen to him talk, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, he's a complete raconteur, just delightful to listen to. Mm-hmm. But I just can't decide which version of his story about the kiss is legit. There's so many of them. I can't pick one out.
Well, at the very least, both of them acknowledged that they were in the same room. Like Nichelle and Bill were in the same room, and I'm sure
I get the feeling they called Nichelle into the suit's office, but they didn't call Bill in.
And this is we come back to the kiss, but my problem with the episode after the kiss, which I know is significant, is that Kirk is forced to pick up a whip, a lash, and then start. It's almost exploitation.
We talked about that while you were out of the room.
Okay, well then you know
you
what?
Can
you
continue.
No, but I just think it is. I think I'm glad you did, and so I don't want to rehash anything that you guys said, but I just find it very exploitive.
According to Google, this is the first black and white kiss. They say right there.
Yeah,
no, I saw it.
Yeah, the term in question is interracial.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's definitely the first black-white kiss.
Yeah,
no doubt about that.
That's what Google says. I just thought I'd just throw it in on there.
No, that's good. It makes for clarity.
Yeah. What of Landrew?
So Snortapoopa says, I suspect that Starfleet figured out a way to cancel their mental powers and reduce them to mere powerless jackasses. Oh, speaking of which, I wasn't listening to Scotty and the last thing he was talking about, but okay, I'm sorry. I wasn't listening to you, Scotty. I don't know what you're talking about. But Herc 130 talks about Jim's dogs. I think I read that one before. Let's see where we were. The problem with changing offensive terms, the new term will eventually take on the same offensive nature in the eyes of the easily offended. Yeah, exactly, Wes Cagle. That's the weirdest thing. It's like we can't even talk anymore. And so Gavin Blackburn, yes. Hello to Melted Copper. Great to see you, Melted Copper. One source claims the organization received its current name in 1960. I have a feeling that it was later than that. Agreed. This is far better than Nemesis. Man, Nemesis was pretty bad, but we had a lot of fun tearing it apart the other day on Friday. It was such a good live stream, I think. Research shows that our brains do have the physical markings from emotional trauma. Absolutely. Agreed. Enjoy your Tuesday, folks. Hugs and kisses, says Milk to Copper. Great.
Right back at you.
Bad, naughty Platonians. Snortopoopas crush. Thank you, Snorty.
Bad.
Snorty is the police
Silly
bear.
old bear.
Yeah, he's the police bear. Bitter dregs.
Ooh. Yeah. Bitter dregs.
Alrighty then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to hear you sing that on karaoke.
No, I don't think so. Sounds like Scotty's aiming for it, though.
So, Franco Walker says the first interracial kiss on UK television was You in Your Small Corner, 1962, then on Emergency Ward in 1964.
Interesting.
Yeah, right?
I saw that go by in my research, too.
Snorpoopa says it's Hodgkin's law of parallel planetary development that states that script writers and showrunners can't resist writing stories about planets that resemble Earth because it's cheaper. And welcome back to Sci-Fi Sit-In.
I really got Roddenberry's point on how this show needed more story, but this show gets off and running like right from the start, and it just keeps moving. You could put more observation in it and explanation, but I don't know how, because it just keeps moving.
Alrighty.
James Caserta says that because it wasn't voluntary, it didn't count, but I don't think that's true because it's not. Like, I think I see your point in that it would have been much better had Kirk and her actually wanted to carry it out, but it still meant something because it was a thing that really wasn't put on TV at the time.
The fact that it wasn't voluntary is almost what allowed them to be able to, as the expression goes, get away with it.
Yep. Well, it's good. We got B on this episode at 50%. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Yep.
When you're done with all of this, Jill, will you do a ranking by poll of all the episodes? Is there any episode so far that everybody's kind of universally agreed on? That got a
I don't know,
solid A?
but we are going to do top 10 or some kind of ranking, yes, after TOS.
Is Scotty a whiskey man or a rum man? Oh, he's a PB man.
It's not funny how modern culture pays attention to culture. We almost got past that in the late 80s, damn it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, right. And so what it is that it should just be incidental to the story. Like it where we should be. I would say the 90s actually was where the progressivism took off.
I don't know. I feel like it was the 90s where I remember thinking, I think we have to have a conversation about having the conversation. And that still somehow never happened. And now here we are.
Sci-Fi Sith Jan says, is Scotty a whiskey man or a rum man, given his name, as well as can he hold his liquor? He drinks beer, most, and vodka. But I will be right back. Tiger, can you pick up a conversation just for a minute? My daughter needs me.
Commodore, do you have anything that you want to observe in general about Trek or this episode, or?
No, it's just that everybody was treated badly, and they learned at the end not to do that. But did they really do what they say? They should have had another episode with another crew showing up to see if they really did what they promised that they wasn't going to do.
Well, it was kind of cool. I just watched this last night, and there's a point where Kirk really nails them down, where they say, "Oh, we promise we won't do this again," and Kirk says, "Well, I don't believe you, and you're definitely going to have people watching you, and we're going to make sure that it doesn't happen again." He really stands his ground, and he's very, I think, dominant, which is satisfying given, again, all the humiliation and subjugation that he's been subject to through the course of the show.
Right. That's where I wish that they would have went back to those previous planets to see what was going on.
Yeah.
That's where Star Trek picks up a few of those episodes to add on, like the Mirror episodes from the original series that they did.
Very satisfying to see them revisit that.
The add-on, what they did was great. I mean, it was really great.
Yeah.
Just to see what else would happen, and we all seen it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wish that they would have done, but of course it was pressed for time and money and everything, and
money particularly, I've heard.
Only had time to do what they could do, and it canceled so early that people would have realized every episode that was made is always talking about the good old Earth.
Mm-hmm. If it hadn't been for Bijo Trimble and her husband John and her coalescing the fan base, there wouldn't have been a third season of Star Trek.
Right.
So
and thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
It got into syndication.
Yes, even though it was sometimes a little weak sauce, it still made such a difference. And you're right, the syndication, it was huge.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's where the next gen came up, since everybody was liking all the original series episodes
and movies.
They wanted Gene Roddenberry to start writing again. He goes, well, they'll do it in a different way, but he still wrote all the episodes.
And that's how we got the movie Pretty Maids all in a row.
Yep.
Lemon Pie said Scotty drinks PBR like Frank Booth and Blue Velvet.
Yes, it's a true story.
Yep.
Do it without doing it? What? I don't know.
Well, the kiss is doing it without doing it. Like that's the thing with the interracial kiss. The thing that would make the interracial kiss more interesting is if it was a passionate, I want to do this.
I would have loved it more.
But it's a forcing of two people who don't want to do this thing, and then after the fact, it is torture for having done the thing. Like Platonians are
forcing.
Yeah, like blow up the planet. Like let's drop a Genesis device.
Okay, so I think we covered it. We covered the episode, so I think it's time for us to go. And
we're done.
Please tell me. Yeah, please tell me what. Yeah, it's over. So please tell me what you're doing around the internet, Jim.
Well, we're still working on all kinds of different kind of fan films. Got one.
If there are any links you want to share, put them in the private chat, and I'll put them in the regular chat for you. Okay, please explain.
But Yeah, I'm coming out with a new one that Commodore Boone and USS Ajax returns. So there's going to be a story about that coming up. It's being made. Other fan films are done, just waiting on a few other actors to send their videos in, and I got about a dozen more in the fire that needs to be pulled out and done. So just keep watching Commodore Productions. You never know what you're going to see. And if you like doggies, check out my channel. There's doggy videos all through there.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tiger Stripes, is there anything you want to share today before we head out?
Oh, sure. I want to say that for your 666th subscription,
Yay!
you might want to consider reviewing the film The Prophecy, 1995.
Dude, I'm in. Is Christopher
Walken? That has a "the" before it, not the movie Prophecy without the, but The Prophecy from 1995. And Botho cast, and there are devils involved.
I am absolutely, and the Archangel Gabriel.
Interesting.
Well, it's Lucifer that I find completely hypnotic in that particular film.
Who plays Lucifer?
Vigo.
Oh no.
Oh yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
thank you. I forgot all about that question, and thank you for remembering to answer it.
No, you're welcome.
I'm gonna write that down.
And again, I'm massive fan of Michael Dunn. Because of the research I did, I'm gonna go watch things that he did that are available on YouTube that I never knew about before. He did a pilot with Richard Boone, where the two of them are detectives in the 40s. And I have yet to watch that. And there's other episodes of things that he was in that are available to see. So I actually went and listened to a Phoebe Doran interview just from mid last year, where she talks about him a bit and about their time on Wild Wild West together. And that was fascinating and wonderful to listen to.
Well, that's how most people know him, yes.
Yes. And I gave this, I actually went in and threw a vote. I think I tipped the scale on the app with the poll, but I'm not sorry because just solely because of Michael Dunn and his presence. And I
have no reason to be sorry.
I sing on Saturday nights and sometimes other nights with other people, but on Saturday nights I sing with Jedi Bill in his karaoke. So if you want to come sing with us, he has an open door. He's really good that way.
Yes, and I put your Twitter handle.
Oh, well, thank you.
In the chat.
Yes, I rarely have anything to say because Twitter is a hellmouth. That's what I like to say about Twitter. That's my saying.
But if anybody needs to reach you, there you are.
Yes.
And Scotty, what do you have to share? What are you doing around here?
Well, I thank you so much for having me around. I know I've been a curmudgeon on this episode, and I apologize, but I don't. And
you heard my review. I kind of
we know. We know you're unapologetic at all times.
And so I get to play on the Phantasmagorium, and me and Kat, or I apologize, Kat and I are reviewing. Yes, we're reviewing season 5 of Fargo. We're just about to do the final episode, which is great. We've done the entire first season, which is also pretty dope. And so I get to hang out with my friends on the Phantasmagorium. Everyone should subscribe to Cinema Gulp. You should check out their 30th anniversary. What was the Lord of the Rings thing that you guys did?
Yeah, the 30th anniversary of Return, 20th anniversary of Return of the King.
It just seems so old.
It does.
Anyway,
I almost believed you.
Yeah, exactly. So go subscribe to Cinema Gulp, and of course, all of my esteemed panelists. I enjoy the conversing, and I'm mildly apologetic about my brash nature.
Oh, he said he's sorry.
Like Spock for forcing us to kiss him.
Yeah. Anyway, and also come back here when we talk about Buckaroo Banzai and Adventures Across the Eighth Dimension on Friday.
What? When? Where?
Friday.
What? Oh my God! Only one of my very favorite films. Can I come? Can I come, Jill?
You can come whenever you want, lady.
Yay!
And so I posted Commodore Boone's puppy video. He gave me the link for it. So check out the puppy.
Puppies.
But this is such a fun time. Like Jill, I've said forever that I just want to hang out and talk about Star Trek with friends of mine, and I appreciate you guys are doing that. And you fill my heart with joy, even when I'm curmudgeonly, even when I'm a math owl.
Oh, it's all right. I have the same feelings about the Plutonians. They're terrible.
Oh my God.
Oh, Miskatonic Madman says, awesome. I love Buckaroo Banzai. Yes, Friday's going to be great. I want to start working on it already. So let's.
Did you see on the table, like all the weapons that they had? There were brass knuckles. So like Kirk could have picked up brass knuckles. What a
good
weird
eye.
weapon.
I didn't see that.
No, I didn't either.
Like brass knuckles are such a waste of time. I'd rather take a whip.
So for me, like I said, on Friday we have Buckaroo Banzai, but then next Tuesday we still have original series episodes left.
Yes.
So the next one is called Wink of an Eye.
Thank heaven.
I will leave us with a trailer for that. So we get to see a trailer for Wink of an Eye, and we will see you next time. Have a lovely Tuesday, everybody.
Blow them interracial kisses.
Take care.
Yeah, bye guys.
Something. Well, I was looking right at him, and he just wasn't there.
Captain.
Do you mind explaining? Who are you?
The enemy.
Captain Kirk. He's gone.
But Spock, you don't know what that'll do to you.
He's gone. It was quite delightful kissing you when you couldn't see me.
Deela.
But now...
Deela!
Hooray!
Learn all that is learnable. And the ways our differences combine to create meaning and beauty.
It has always been easier to destroy than to create.
Well, now you have something new to think about. Carry on.